ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download.
Check this out, we got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and welcome to the Friday edition of the Breakfast Bankroll. Headliner today, first week thoughts of Super Bowl 60. May it begin. Been a few days. We've been doing a lot of work back here, just letting this thing simmer here. To the locals. Woke up this morning, 6 degrees. It was about minus 10, 15 last night. Wind chill. This is Cape Cod, Massachusetts. This is in Concordia, Canada. I have no idea what the hell's going on. I do know there's one more storm, another storm coming Sunday, Monday. I guess maybe a half foot of snow, maybe closer to 8-10 inches, but high winds. We're talking 50, 60, 70 mile gusts. So be prepared. Not like last week, run out there and get your bread, eggs, milk, and all that garbage. But just make sure you're prepared. And if you don't have to go out, don't go out. If you have 2 dogs that look at you like a deer in the headlight, you know when it's time to go out. And even they're running way back to get back in here. So first and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It is free. Travis, Zach, Guy, myself, Amber, Holly, Carol, Bucks, Matthew, Alan, Drew, Jacob. The list is endless. Come on board. Go to wagerwire.com. Download the app. Head on over to X at WagerWire and follow the community. It's the best in the business, I promise you. 2026 will be epic. And of course, Atlanta Steaks and Seafood.com. Steak, seafood chops, appetizers, wines. Terry Smith has done it all. Let him take care of the protein. Let him take care of all the hard work, and you can just sit back and enjoy all the benefits, of course. Russell Saylor, could you use a little global warming there, Jeff? Russell, I have no idea what the hell. I know I didn't sign up for this. I mean, it's been a few years since we've gotten big snowstorms. But the 6 degrees, 8 degrees, and I know Scotty's dealing with cold too. So anyways, thank you, Russell, so much for showing up here in this brisk cold morning. So without further ado, let's bring him in. Scotty Webb.
Hey, man. It's back to our stuff here on Friday. And I think it's just interesting, it's Super Bowl week and you get all this crap and you got all these different things that you have to sort through. And, I get an email this morning from VSIN, right? I mean, I sign up for them and they send me this email thing every morning. And it's okay, well, the number one play is you got to take New England plus 4.5 because it fits 75 trends they got going on. And I'm like, I just think some of this stuff is all comical and different things. So, but I've got a collection of different thoughts and different things going on. I haven't made any bets. I still don't have any of my data packets yet for this game, so I haven't broke it down quite the way I'm going to break it down. So I think it's just interesting how it all kind of works out. In other news, WBC is right around the corner, so I can talk a little bit more about that. And then, we got a few more signings yet for Major League Baseball that needs to happen, and then that's pretty much it for the most part.
Yeah, we're going to figure out a schedule next week. We decided we'd be the bookends this week, Monday, Friday. Probably, if Scott feels it necessary, we'll come back and start the week here. Then we'll figure out the rest of the week as we really start to pick up. Really, hats off to John Murray at Westgate. They just continue to be the prop kings when it comes to the Super Bowl. I enjoyed following Crack and his work there, Bill Krackenberg. 50 pages, 50 pages of actual props that you could bet. And the beauty of the Westgate is they used to go live on Thursday. They thought they were getting a little behind it because DraftKings and FanDuel just put up square props on Sunday night. They do the actual work in the risk room for 2, 3, 4 nights in a row. So Wednesday night, they put up their 50 pages all onto the boards. You have to get in line. And this line, I have been there live, is thousands of people just waiting to place 2 bets at 2,000 max per. Once you place your 2 bets, if you want to place some more, you have to go back at the end of the line. So like Craig said, he had about 10 of the 50 pages. A couple of them he was going to try to double back and triple back if they didn't whack him after he came in there. But again, if you waited in line for 2.5 hours to place your 2 bets, now you hope the line gets shorter. So maybe it's only an hour and a half for the second round. And if you end up 3, 4, 5, maybe it keeps shrinking and shrinking. But great work, and I applaud the Westgate.
Couple of notes on a couple of things. This is a single game, a standalone game to the NFL. You're not going to find sharper numbers than what you're going to have in this game. They're just going to tell you that. So all these people that want to go sit there and tell you about how great it is to go through these 50 pages of prop bets and tell you that, hey, you can put $2,000 on them and go get in line and stuff. I don't care if it's Krackenberg or whoever it is. I don't really care. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. So don't think I'm being disrespectful. I don't care because the number's tight. Whatever that number that they put out there is, it's going to be hard to beat. And if you're Krackenberg and you think you can beat it, then go ahead and fire out whatever you want. Here's the reality that most people in our lanes that listen to us are going to sit here and go, well, it's Krackenberg. He's going to win. No, he's not. He's not. He's going to make 20 of those bets, and he's going to hope that he hits a couple of them that are plus money to cover the losses. That's what he's going to do. And then he's going to hope to come out and then back in and go, oh, I won money. That's how it works. So guys, when you're be very, very careful what you're listening to and what's being sold to you, because it's a bill of goods. It's bullshit. That's a bullshit. And this is that week. That being said, the other part of this is I see, and I'm just going to call it like it is, Jeff. I mean, whatever it is, what it is. So this guy John Murgis is out here, and he's I'm not going to go there. Look, he puts out this ad for himself that says, "I bet," and he put this little fake ticket thing up there. Whatever, he's doing this all the whole time, and he says, "I bet $5,000 on the Super Bowl. If you want to know who I bet, sign up for $50 and you can get my pick."
And if it loses, I'll send you back 100. And I got war stories, and I know you got war stories. Suicide pools that he never paid up. Yada yada. If you're following him, I whatever. I want to start the show with a fun one for you, and this is an easy one in my eyes, thanks to WagerWire. We already went over one ticket. I want to backtrack and preface it first, so give me a second here. Let me go here. All right. So It's a Patriots to win the Super Bowl ticket at plus 3,000. They were at plus 3,000. Okay. The current odds are plus 185. The current value is at 1632. There's no cash out here. Okay. A few other notes. No cash outs available. The Patriots were 80 to 100 to 1 early October. So they're likely Patriots future holders in even better positions. This guy, I think, risked $100. Okay. So I'm going to go here to start. Let me do this. Share screen right here. Blah, 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 blah. Here. All right. So here we go. All right. Here you go. $150 wager. Potential cash out is $46.50. You can get this at wagerwire.com/marketplace. This ticket is up for sale. I think it is, so double check on that. Again, 150 original odds. The value right now is at 1632 with a 1482 profit. And here's the picture of the chart from September 14th all the way to where it is today. The easy thing, right, Scotty, is to go in, and you don't have to fully hedge this, but if you could go in on the other side, obviously, and hit the Seattle money line for whatever you're comfortable. This isn't a $50,000, $100,000 ticket where a lot of people don't have that kind of money to be able to go in and hedge this properly. But initial thoughts if Scotty Webb was holding this ticket, and what would Scotty Webb do?
Well, look, I only got $150 on this. So I can win $4,000, or I can go and bet the other side at another place, and I can guarantee myself that I'm going to win something else. So the hey PB, thanks for reposting the stream, brother. So when I sit here and think about this, it's only $150. It's not like you got $5,000 tied up to win $4,000, or $5,000 tied up to win whatever. So in my mind, I'm not selling this ticket. I'm hedging this ticket, and I'm going to bet the other side to bring in a guaranteed profit one way or the other. And I've only got $150 invested on one side, so what the hell ever. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure I make $3,000 on this game.
Well, again, I think the actual money line. Let me get let me see how I can do this.
It's like minus 2 something.
Yeah, let me go here for 1 second,
It's
Scotty.
like 210 the last time I saw.
Yeah, so again, if you wanted to, even $1,000 on the Seattle money line is going to cost you about $2,100. If Seattle wins, your net profit is plus $850. If Seattle loses, again, you're going to net yourself about $2,400. Would you something of that caliber, or would you back it up? Would you get cute and do some minus the 4.5 and money line, or would you just go in, set yourself up for, hey, listen, I just put 1,000 on the Seattle money line. I invested 2,100 on that side. If it wins, I plus 850. If the Pats win, I'm plus 2,200.
Well, I think it depends on what you think in the game, right? Like, I haven't done the game yet, so if I like the game at 4.5 or 4 or whatever the number is going to end up being, or however it's going to turn out, then I might do it that way. But you want to have, I think you want to guarantee yourself one or the other. So if you're going to bet the 4.5 and they win by 2, you didn't guarantee that, so you just lost. You lost both, and you don't want to do that. So I think money line would probably be the proper way to do that. And I think that then you have to kind of figure out, well, where's the margin of what I want to make? You've got $150 invested. So if you can bring back $800, if you can bring back $2,000, if you can bring back $1,000, whatever you want to bet to make that happen, that's what you do. And so I think you're in control of where it is you want that to land, depending on how much money you have to put on the money line and make it work for you. So I just think it's an interesting situation. But to me, the other side of it is if the guy's got $150 invested and there's a potential for 4,000, and what's he selling it for? He can get what, $3,000 for it or something on Wager Wire here.
No, they were just asking, again, someone like when we do tickets, we did the Puka Nakua one where, again, there's a lot, it's a $300,000 ticket potentially, but, you got a minus 1,100 plus a plus 750. Only way out is to sell shares of someone that might be a Puka fan. And again, that's the voters. And you saw what happened to Bill Belichick when it comes to voters. When it's not just the best numbers win, when it's voters, it can get a little squirrely there. But for this ticket, as you said, if it's a diehard Patriot fan, he's going to let it ride anyways. And when I said get cute with the minus 4.5, as you said, if Seattle wins by 4, well, I didn't feel like laying the full 210. Well, shame on you. You want both sides covered. So again, interesting ticket. We'll might come back to this later next week and stuff. But
well, my thought would be is if this guy's selling this ticket and it's for sale, he's probably doing the right thing because if he can get, he doesn't have to hedge to make the money if he's selling the ticket. So somebody else who comes in and buys that ticket is going to go, well, now I got to hedge this ticket and see if I can make the money on the other side, and then the cost is going to go up. So we'll have to see what that hedge looks like for that side. It might not be the right play.
Not at all. So thanks again to wagerwire.com/marketplace. Head on over there. Thank you to Matt Chappelle there. Chappelle, let's get back here and let me do this. Stop sharing and back here. I understand why there's a week off. Teams to get prepared. You almost got to tune out social media. You got to tune out all the big platforms, the big stages, because it's just it's Charlie Brown. It's and I guess where I'm going to go here, Scotty, is for a couple of weeks we've heard about Sam Darnold not practicing oblique. He sure oblique looked damn good last week. I'm not worried about Sam Darnold, and I feel the same way about Drake May and quote unquote the shoulder. Someone brought it up a real good way. You saw the real Pats offense in warm weather when he could just get up there and chuck it around. They were scoring 30 points at will. The last 3 opponents and the weather has not allowed them to do that. They started with the Chargers at home, and the weather wasn't great there. In come the Texans. The weather really wasn't good there. And then go to Denver. And the second half in the blizzard, whatever, the weather wasn't good there. They're winning with their defenses. Now, I haven't gotten the weather report for next Sunday. I'm assuming it's going to be nice. I'm assuming I'm not buying Drake May in the shoulder. Are you?
No, I think that if it was an issue, it would show up a different way. And it would have showed up in the game a different way. I think all of these. Look, these guys have how do I say it? They have high pain tolerance and stuff, but they're still human. And if you're injured, that's different than when you're hurt. When you're sore and you're hurt, whatever. All these, myself included, all these guys. We're used to that. That's how you live your life. You're a man. You're sore, you're hurt, whatever. But if you're injured, you can't do what you normally do, and that shows up. And I don't think that it was. I don't think any of that has shown up that way. I was surprised a little bit at what Dr. Chow's been saying about this stuff. He thinks it's more of a big deal than anybody that I've seen. And I sort of respect his opinion to a certain degree, just because he's been on the sideline. He's been a team doctor. He knows more about that stuff than, the average Joe, Dick, and Harry out there making up, their doctors. So I think there's a little more to it maybe than what's really being shown. But at the same time, I don't think it's going to be a cause and effect in this game. I think even a smart guy like McDaniels as an offensive coordinator been doing it long enough. Look, your quarterback's going to be able to do whatever he can do, and you're going to play into that strength, whatever that is. And if it's 15-yard outs because he can't throw the ball 40 yards down the field, well, that's what it is. And you're gonna make your game plan around what he can do, not what he can't do. So I do think that it'll be an interesting matchup that way. But I've in preparation for all the work that I'm doing and stuff. There's so much data out there already. It's not the game matchup data that I'm looking for, and I don't have the DVOA numbers and all that stuff that I want yet. But it's interesting when you start to look at a lot of this stuff and how it's presented in a certain way. Like where's some of these numbers? Like DVOA wise, and maybe I should go into what DVOA is, but DVOA is kind of like EPA, but it's just a different version of that. Anyway, DVOA wise, the Seattle Seahawks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're like the sixth best team ever since 1978. They're like, this is no joke team. And I think people think about them in a different level. Like, oh, it's the Seattle Seahawks, and they're good because of the noise and all the other nonsense. This is a really, really, really good football team. And I don't know, to be honest, how much credit they're getting for being like that good of a football team. That's number one. Number two, I see a lot of this stuff about DVOA wise now, and other data points too point to this, that the New England Patriots are one of the worst Super Bowl teams ever. And I sit there and I go, okay, well, I'm not really buying into that because I don't really care. But it's because that has a lot to do with who they played and what their schedule strength is and all that kind of stuff. So at this point in the year, when I look at that stuff, I don't buy it because they've won 17 games or something. So they've won a lot, and they've beat good teams. So I don't buy into all of that nonsense. So I think this is going to be a pretty competitive game, pretty tough game. It's going to be whatever. I don't have my data points to match it up. I guarantee you my data points are going to tell me that Seattle's the right side. I guarantee it. And the reason I guarantee it is because, it's all efficiency data. It's all going to tell me that they're going to be able to stop the run. They're going to be able to stop the pass. They're going to be able to do this, that, and the other stuff, all that. Now, all that being said, there's more to a game and handicapping than just the data points. So get into all that stuff kind of as it goes. And then you have all the other side of this thing where in the last 24 years, Super Bowl underdogs are 17-7. Well, what does that mean exactly? Well, I don't know what it means exactly. It means that at that point in time in that year, the underdogs were pretty good. And I don't know where all that portrays with some of this stuff. There's my baseball notes mixed in with this. There was a couple of things that I thought were kind of interesting. Aaron Schatz, he's the guy that creates DVOA. He made a couple of Super Bowl preview notes, and in those notes, he says Sam Darnold struggles against the blitz. Okay, well, most quarterbacks struggle against the blitz. Seattle destroys the quick game throws. The Pats have problems in short yardage. So those are interesting little tidbits and notes that, can, in a tight game, make a difference. So as the game rolls out and as we kind of look at different things, we'll be looking at that. But one of the things that I thought was super interesting in all of this thing was, where is it? It's up here. That's against the blitz. That's not what I'm worried about. There's two things. There's Evan Abrams comes out and he talks about and it's not Evan Abrams. He's doing something else. It's right here. These two things. So the Patriots, when the Patriots face a below average defense, and the average is graded by DVOA, they score 31.8 points a game and turn the ball over 0.5 times. When they face a team that is above average on defense, they score 21 points a game and turn the ball over 1.6 points a time. And so far in the playoffs, New England versus the top three defenses that they've played are only scoring 18 points a game with 1.8 turnovers per game. And then the comment basically is the Seahawks are the number one DVOA defense. So that means a lot. That tells you that there's not going to be a lot of scoring in this game compared to what everybody might think there is. So, and I see the numbers trickling down, right? It opened at like near 47, 46 and a half, 45, somewhere in there. And then another point that was made that I thought was interesting is that the Patriots run game is an interesting study because, they got Stevenson's a big bruiser back, and then they got, the quick guy Henderson that can take a ball forever. And they're fifth in the NFL in rushing yards. Okay, I don't go by yards, but that's what they are, fifth in yards. But they're highly inefficient, and they're reliant on MAYE scrambles. If you look, and I'm just looking at my phone instead of turning over here and looking at my computer. These are tweets and stuff that I've been saving to put all this together. There's everything that's green is when they're above average in EPA per rush. Everything that's red is when they're below average. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of the 21 games, they've been above average in rushing. So it's an interesting kind of way to look at things. And I think the big caveat to all of this is Drake MAYE going to be able to run the football? If he's going to be able to scramble and get those 10, 15-yard first downs and keep the chains moving and do stuff, that's going to be a huge advantage, and that's how they won against Denver. So are they going to be able to do that against Seattle? I don't know the answer to that. I know that one of the comments that's in here is when a Mike McDonald, whatever the guy's name is, Mike McDonald defense faces a quarterback that's 24 or under, they've never lost. And actually, as they've never lost a game, the quarterback's 0-7, but they also have like 18 interceptions and I don't know how many sacks. It's an unbelievable number. It's an unbelievable data point that basically says, hey, look, these kids that go play this guy's defense struggle. So I think there's a lot of different points that you want to look at. And I'm not trying to be a naysayer against New England. I just want to make sure that when you start to have a complete picture, you got to understand what you're looking at and what you're looking for. And, I didn't mean to bring up Murgis in a bad way. I was going to make a statement that said he's making his biggest bet on this game. That makes no sense. If it's not the biggest, EV positive bet, don't make it that biggest bet. So if it's not the biggest edge, you shouldn't be doing those things. So anyway, my point being is, don't get caught up in all the bullshit you hear about a lot of this other stuff that goes on, and excuse my language, but I mean, it is stupid. And I think as you kind of play it all out and you start to look at it, you really got to find out who's going to win in the offensive line, who's going to win in the defensive line, who's going to be able to put pressure on the quarterback. Like Seattle couldn't put pressure on the quarterback against the Rams the other week. So if you look at the data, and look at the games. I don't remember, and it's never. I don't even know. Well, it's happened because it's shown. Do you really realize? Do people realize Drake MAYE's been sacked 5 times, 3 straight games? In 3 straight games, he's been sacked 5 times in each game. And if that happens in this game, they're not going to be able to. I mean, you're going to have to do something different. So. I think as this kind of stuff starts to develop and go, you start to look at different things and you go, holy crap, this is a different kind of animal to analyze and look at, and then you look at the number and you go, well, I don't know if the number makes sense yet or not. I don't know. Like I saw Krakenberger say, "Hey, the one of the bets that you want to make on this game is what's the guy's name? The guy for New England, Hoskins. Well, he's a wide receiver.
Hollins.
Hollins under 2.5 receptions. That you want to go bet that like it's he hit it twice. Okay, well, why would you do that? Why do you know that they're not going to throw to him more than 3 times? Well, the game dictates stuff like that. And I get it. These guys are out here doing that stuff based on odds and where that stuff lines up and how it sits. And, somebody else might be at minus 140 and you can bet it at minus 110. So you got to go hit it. I get all that. I get it. But you're not going to win that way. I guarantee it. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. So you better start betting positive numbers.
So many places to go here, and I'll try to make this sermon quick because there's a lot of things I'd like to say. I call New Year's Eve amateur night out, and everyone knows here that's been following me for 10 plus years now, 11. What does New Year's Eve with Jeff Dawson consist of? Well, when my kids were younger, it was going to ice skating, and then it was going to get the Chinese food, and then it was the Three Stooges marathon. It's a young man's game out there. I don't need to see the ball drop. I don't need to go to these parties, yada, yada, yada. Okay? Secondly, that's what the Super Bowl, that's what the big events, the March Madness championship game, the big time fights. People crawl out of the woodwork. For the 2 decades the Patriots were in the Super Bowl, it seemed every other year or every year, we'd have 25, 30, 40 people that would come in and out of our house. We had a huge spread. We created our own props. We handed them out to everyone. There was like 15 of them. Whoever had the most, second and third, we'd have prizes for them. We'd set up our own first quarter, halftime, third quarter, fourth quarter squares. We made it an event. And truth be told, they were all Patriot fans. Well, me and my accountant would probably be against the Patriots most of the times. My biggest bet in Super Bowl history, and it was a big one, was Seattle money line against the Patriots. I think the Seattle was favored by 2.5, and it was slow first quarter, a lot of points. Second quarter, slow third quarter, a lot of points back and forth in the fourth quarter, and Seattle is second and goal from the 1, and there's Russell Wilson in shotgun, and I'm like, what are you doing here? And that was for some reason, Pete Carroll thought he'd outsmart the world, and he'd throw the ball deflected. Malcolm Butler touched interception, game over. There was 30 people in the living room watching the big screen. There were 28 people that jumped up, all the Patriot fans, when Butler intercepted. And me and my accountant that had the Seattle money line looked white as a ghost. And everyone's looking at us like, Jeff, what's wrong with that? My biggest bet in Super Bowl is if you just handed it to Skittles 3 straight times, you would have leaned forward for a touchdown. So again, I had conviction, Scotty, that day. I had conviction that Seattle was the right side, and they were a yard and a half away from being the right side. But I wasn't calling the play, and that light bulb didn't come on to me. Hey, let's surprise them and throw it. So that's number 2. Number 3, Dan Marino, Joe Burrow, Drake May. What do they all have in common? They made it to the Super Bowl in their second year. Dan Marino got blown out by the 49ers. Joe Burrow got beat, if I remember correctly, by the defense and the Rams. Insert Drake May. Now, I'm looking at this game, and it's almost like, a college football championship where it's the SEC versus a smaller market team. And I'll use Notre Dame because whenever Notre Dame in the championship games would face an SEC team, you would see they were too slow. You would see their flaws. And for the Patriots, I think it's been a tale of a couple seasons here. Started the year 2-2. They lost opening day to the Raiders, and then 2 weeks later they lost at home to the Steelers. Since October 1st, they are 15-1. They can't control their schedule. They're the only team in the NFL that's undefeated on the road. They were 8-0 regular season and 1-0 in the playoffs. And when I think people really dig into the Patriots, they're not taking into full consideration who they faced the last 3 weeks and how big the weather was. They faced 3 great defenses. Well, Chargers good, obviously Texans great, and Denver is good or / great. They're not Seattle, okay? So there's a lot of moving parts and variables here. I'm not telling you to run and go grab the points because I remember Seattle versus Denver in the Super Bowl. I got my first 7-0 in a Super Bowl square. I was the happiest guy in the world. I finally am going to get a Super Bowl square. If people remember, the first play in that game was a snap over Peyton Manning's head, and Seattle got a safety. There goes the 7-0. And my point is, it became quicksand. That was a blowout, and Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos had nowhere to go. So in Super Bowls, it does become quicksand sometimes. And if you start to chase and you're not comfortable, and next thing you know, Drake May's getting sacked. He's getting strip sacked, tip ball, interception. This could get ugly. So there's so many ways this can go, Scotty.
Yeah, I mean, it's one game, but and there's a lot of study, and these guys have a lot of time to prep, and they got a lot of things going on there. So there's a lot that can happen, and there's guys that can come back and play that haven't been playing for a while. So we'll see what the rosters look like in terms of who's playing, who's not playing, what the offensive lines, defensive lines look like. And Russell asks a good question here. It says, isn't all betting winning some and losing some? Which lines are tighter, sides, totals, props, that kind of stuff? Well, it depends on how you bet. So I don't bet that way. I'm not a top-down bettor. I don't go shop a bunch of lines. I don't go looking for the best number. I don't want to bet bad numbers, but I'm betting my numbers against those numbers to create bad numbers. I use Profit X. I guarantee if you use Profit X, you're not going to have bad numbers. Now, all that being said, when you're talking about winning some, losing some, and doing different things, you're basically doing a lot of line shopping and betting at places to say, okay, well, this number's 3.5, this one's 4.5, this one's 4, this one's 2. Whatever. I'm going to bet the best number, and that's how you bet. And that's what a lot of these guys are going to do in Vegas and stuff now. I mean, that's when they go out and they say, I bet numbers, I don't bet teams. That's what they mean. They're just going to pick off the best number with the best odds at the best time, and that's how they bet. So yes, in those circumstances, you are trying to win more than you lose, and like Spanky, the guy that I don't know how many people are familiar with Spanky, but Spanky's a degenerate, big time betting syndicate person. He's got a whole bunch of people that work for him. I shouldn't say a whole bunch. Say he's got 5-6 guys, and all they do is sit at the computer, and when a number hits a certain spot, they bet it. With as much money as they got, they bet it. He don't even know who the quarterback is. He doesn't know who plays point guard. He doesn't know what city these teams play in. He doesn't care. All he's trying to do is be like a stockbroker. In other words, he's just playing numbers. And that's one way to do this. Jeff's really good at those kinds of things. Don't ask me to do that. I don't do that. I don't do that in any way, shape, or form. Sometimes I have great years, like this football season has been really, really good. I found a way to make things really, really good for me. I analyze the game from a different level because that's what I did. When I played baseball, I had nuances to the game that most people that don't play the game don't know what they are. That was my edge. So So I think when you start to break things down and you look at it, it depends on how you bet and what you bet. So you don't ever want to bet a bad number ever. You don't want to bet. You don't want to bet -7.5 when the number was 6.5. You just don't want to do that. So that's betting bad numbers. But so I think things are going to be a certain way and different things. What does it say? My point is that prop lines are not as sharp as the sides and totals in the NFL, and I don't understand the knock on the guys who bet them. There's no knock on guys that bet props. Don't get me wrong. Bet them all you want. What I'm saying is that this standalone game, the prop numbers you have to beat are the most tight number you will have to beat all year.
I'm going to interject one thing, Russell. Again, we're not knocking Crack, and we're not knocking what he does. I can add to this point with Westgate and 50 pages of props. Unlike DraftKings, unlike FanDuel and a few other of the Square books, that as soon as the game was announced, they got all kinds of props on their board. And for people like Crack and the big time players, professionals, whatever you want to call them, they, as Crack will say, and Crack is a great friend, a colleague. When I was out there this summer, I spent 3 days with him, and we were with Spanky for a little while there, yada, yada, yada. But my point is, those guys, if they can get $18 at DraftKings or FanDuel's, that's a lot of money for them. They won't allow them to play there. And if you watch Crack enough, he'll tell you all the places that he's been banned. But that 50-page report or 50 pages of prop that Westgate is put out there, what Scotty, I think, is trying to say, and I'm trying to say, is they're the sharp of the sharp of the sharps. And so he brought up like Kenneth Walker, and I think the number was 72.5 rushing yards or something, which if it was a regular Sunday game and it was in the middle of a 1:00 slate where there's not all this hype and all this publicity, that number might be a lot softer. So again, what Westgate does is, hey, we'll allow you to bet $2,000, 2 props. So of the 50 pages, whatever you think the 2 are the best are, go bang them. And if you want to come back for another bite at the apple, stand in the bottom line. And those numbers now, as Crack said, he took 2 props, maybe at -10, one each. And the Mac Hollins that he whacked again, by the time he got back up there, I think it was -130 at under 2.5, and he whacked it again. So he wasn't afraid to lay the extra 20 cents there. So he went to the window with conviction. And again, it's all in what you do. My 2 cents on this is, it's the Super Bowl. It's 2 weeks of hype, and for the regular Joe public, they see 50 pages, and they might want to have some fun. Here, I'm going to bet 50 of these out of the 50 pages, and I'm going to put $20 on each. I got $1,000 in prop bets, and if I go 55 and 45, I had 3.5 hours of entertainment. I broke even. I won 50. I lost 50. I won 100 or whatever. So that's my 2 cents on that, Scott.
Yeah, but I think most people think that these are these numbers aren't like sides or totals. Yes, they are, especially this day on this game. And just do this. Go to your favorite AI, whatever it is, whether it's Grok or ChatGPT or Claude or whatever. Just go there, and then ask the AI to tell you. So, for example, at ProfitX, one of the props that they have is yes, no prop is an upright or a crossbar going to get hit on a kick. Okay. Well, how in the hell do you price that? So go ask an AI how to price it. And you know what it's going to come back with? It's going to come back and go, well, over the last 15 years, it's happened this many times. And then it's going to go, here's the poison distribution, and then here's a Monte Carlo distribution, and here's the odds that it should be, and here's the odds that we're going to make it so that people will bet it. And then you're going to tell me you're going to go beat that. It has the legit numbers to every event that you can think of. Anything. What color is the Gatorade going to be? There is a way to get an exact odds number that's really, really close to what it should be. Now, if you have, I don't know, some kind of insight, or you have a if you have a model that you can figure out passing yards, or a quarterback's going to do this or whatever, and maybe your model is pretty good, you might want to put that up against whatever their numbers are, and especially if there's something off there. But in reality, those numbers shouldn't be off by much. Where your edge is going to be is in slight numbers here and slight numbers there. So as you're thinking about all these things that go through, remember this: the sports book has way better tools than we do to calculate that number, and it's not off. It isn't. It's as sharp as you can make it. And then when people bet into it and it moves and the market moves it, it gets tighter and tighter and tighter.
Russell wants to know if they are as sharp as sides and totals. Wouldn't the books take the same size? But Russell, it's all based on volume. Okay, so in other words, if there's a handful of mispriced lines, and the Krakenbergers of the world, they nail it. So $2,000 times 50 is what? I don't know. That's $100,000 actually. My point is, the books don't want to get slammed. I'm going to bring up Jeffrey Benson at the Circa for a reason here, because early this week, a guy went to the window and bet $1 million on the Patriots plus 185 on the money line. He had no problem taking it. Why, Russell? Because it's the Super Bowl. He's going to get plenty of people coming in on the other side, taking Seattle money line here to offset that. So currently, after that bet, he was obviously rooting for Seattle and wants Seattle money. But by the end of the 2 weeks, he could have $15 million on the Seattle money line, and he could have $8 million on the Patriots money line. Therefore, he now becomes a Patriot guy. But that money line will shift. So he's not going. The book isn't as a bigger risk when it comes to these props. Again, they're not taking big bets because they're not getting enough action on these prop bets to make it worth the while. They're putting it out for the public to have some fun. They're putting it out there to say, here you go. This is like the appetizer. And you want to sit there and you want to bet the coin toss. You want to bet under over 119 on the Stanley Cup, on the Star Spangled Banner. Is the first kickoff going to be a touchback? Just fun stuff to wet your whistle. And you could have 50, 75, $100, or these guys that went there on Wednesday night have 2,000. The average bet for the average person is $20, $25. These are the professionals. So again, Westgate's not going to throw out 50 pages of numbers just so they can get bent over backwards on the props and hope that they're on the right side of the under over and the final score on the game to offset their props loss. This is just more of an appetizer, Scotty.
Yeah, no, I like the way Russell's thinking, though. I mean, it's a good question to say, well, if they're just as sharp as the sides and totals, why don't they take both? Well, they don't take as much on totals as they do sides. So the reality becomes is think about this. You got, I just talked about, when you handicap the game, it's a big picture of things to look at. Well, as a sports book and you're monitoring, what goes on in your sports book, and you want to manage risk, if you will, right? Jeff talked about, money line bets on one side that might be, out of line. So you bring them up on the other side. But the big picture is that's one type of bet. And then you got the lines, the spread side, you got team totals, you got all kinds of different different other options and things you can do that just in whether the Seattle wins or whether the whether New England wins, and then you got the totals to match all of that stuff, and then but the prop side of things, you don't have a lot of counteraction. That's the difference. You've got a lot of risk with no counteraction. So that's why there's not as much, volume and not as much allowed business practice on those numbers, because you're not going to, if they were to go and say, hey, look, I'm going to take $100,000 on these bets, and they're going to let you bet $100,000 on these prop bets, do you know what the lines would be with the props? You get 3 or 4 guys that go in there, bet that number, and then nobody will ever bet it again because the number moves so much. So the number would change so fast that that would be it. Nobody else would bet it because the number's not available anymore, and the number that is available nobody wants. So they've got to find a way to make those balances and distributions work so that they can get a little bit of coverage here and there and do different things, and hope people do bet, silly stuff like, whether the crossbar gets hit and stuff like that, or what is it, the octopus play and all the other stuff that goes out there for Super Bowl bets and different things. They're fun. Don't get me wrong. I want people to have a great time watching this football game, and we're going to get into the football part of it next week, but or I will anyway. But the point of it is I guess what I'm trying to tell people most of the time and mostly is, be careful what you listen to. Be careful what hype you're dealing with. Be careful what you believe, because I'm going to just say this the best way I can. These guys you think you don't know them for nothing. You don't know who Krakenberger is if you walk right up to you. You've seen him before, but you don't know him. You don't know what he does, how he does it. You don't know any of these guys, the VSiN guys or any of those. You don't know them. You think you do because you listen to them. But you don't know what their betting habits are. You don't know how they bet. You don't know why they bet. You don't know anything about them. So be very, very careful on a lot of different things that you think they're experts on, because they're going to portray it. And the truth of the matter is, they're just getting paid to be on the TV and talk to you guys. That's it.
We will be back a lot next week. We'll be breaking the game down. Scotty will get all his numbers. Russell, I can't thank you enough for all these questions. That's what we're here for. I'm going to transition for the next few minutes. I do want to say something kind of funny. Going to the bedroom last night, turn on the Australian Open. I was watching Carlos Alcaraz play, and I fell asleep. And the older you get,
that's tennis for you.
You wake up because you got to go to the bathroom. Well, 4.5, 5 hours later, these guys are still playing, and it was a classic. And Alcaraz was going to tap out after being up for the first 2 games. He was cramping. It looked like he was about to tap out, and the light bulb comes on. He goes, "Now I'm going to fight through." He wins a 5-set match. And then the match after, Sinner versus Joker. Joker's got 15 majors, and he is now a pass. Because Alcaraz and Sinner are the top 2, and there's a big drop. Well, Joker was like plus 700, and wake up this morning, and these guys are still going on. They played almost 4 hours, and somehow, some way, Joker at plus 700, 750, whatever you got, won a 5-set match, and those 2 will be playing on Sunday. Great banter, because Carlos is looking to win his first Australian Open, which will complete the majors, the cycle, whatever you want to call it, the Grand Slam. He's won all the other 3 majors, I think twice each there. Or the Joker trying to say, not so fast, young guns. I got one more in me. But I want to excuse me. I want to end with baseball here for a few minutes, Scotty. Framber Valdez, it sounds like it's a 2-horse race now, the Giants and the Orioles. I think it would make a great story if Framber makes it to the Orioles, just to pile on in the AL East. If the Giants get it, it's kind of, they're battling the rest of the National League and, of course, the Dodgers. It looks good on paper. They got him more of a long-term play there. So thoughts there. But what I really want to say is this. Tyler Milliken Boston. Listen, as I said in the tweet, I love your dedication. I love your passion. I know you love Boston. I am so tired and pissed off of this BS PR where the Sox are in. They're talking to this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. My complaint right now to you, Scotty, is this: is they made some power moves. They brought in a Vito. They brought in a Sonny Gray. They brought in Ranger Suarez. They got such a plethora of starting pitching. And technically, they don't have a third baseman or a second baseman. And it's time to shit or get off the pot here. You cannot go to you can't go to spring training, Scotty, with no second baseman or third baseman. What in the hell are they doing right now?
Well, getting back to first, I guess, getting to Framber. He's the last big signing, as far as I'm concerned.
You still got your Zach Gallen, LOL.
Yeah, but I think he's going back to Arizona the way it seems to me. I don't think anybody's going to pay him, and it's kind of it's a weird scenario with his contract because of the attachments, because of the draft picks and different other things that go with it. And they don't want to give up any of that stuff because he was offered a contract, whatever the guaranteed contract or whatever. So you got to come up with it. It's just a weird mess for that kind of thing. His deal is goofy. Eugenio Suarez is the number one hitter still available. And whatever. I mean, I hear this all the time about, well, he's hit 49 home runs. Who doesn't want a 49 home run hitter? Well, the reality is if he plays designated hitter and you got a spot for him to play designated hitter, well, maybe that's okay. But he strikes out a lot too. His value is not as high as, okay, I'm a 49 home run hitter guy. You don't think Seattle wants him back and they wouldn't go out and pay for the guy if they wanted him. So anyway, they made a big trade to get him. He hurt himself in the back end of last year where he hit all his home runs and then didn't hit any when he went to Seattle much. So I don't know what people think about that guy. You still got Luis Ariz out there. You got Marcelo Zuna out there, to be hitters. But there's no big name changers except Framber. Framber's the guy. I think, it's important for somebody to make a concerted effort to get him. I don't think he's getting what he wants. I think that's why it's taking so long. My opinion would be is that from what I've understood this whole time, the front runner's been Baltimore. But I will say that, the longer things go and the guy doesn't get the contract that he wants, that means there's going to be shorter term deals, which brings in other teams. Other teams that might give him more AAV or whatever and say, hey, we'll give you this for 2 years or 3 years and go on about your way. But I think it would be great for Baltimore. That puts them in a very competitive spot. And then getting back to what you're talking about with the Red Sox, look, there's a lot of fan bases out there that don't understand. Every single team is in on every single player. Okay, they are. They talk to they're talking to everybody, and then you hear the MLB reporter guys, which drive me insane. But those guys are going to say, well, this guy's on this, and these guys are on that, and these guys are on this. Well, that's because stuff is leaked out. They've made contract offers. So not every team, like the Marlins, have talked to this guy. The Marlins have talked to everybody. They just don't have the ways and means to do certain things, to sign certain players. So the talking points don't go very far. But every team talks to everybody. So as it comes down, I think when you're in Boston and you have these guys that come out and they talk to you about stuff, they overstep the meaning behind some of these things, and it's just too much. And then that creates a little bit of disappointment for the fan base. Now, I will say, I do like their pitching staff. Their pitching staff is very good. They've done a lot of positive things. They're one of the best pitching staffs in all of baseball. They match up to the Dodgers or anybody. It doesn't matter. They're really good pitching staff. That said, they're not as good on offense this year as they were last year. So your point's well taken that they've done a lot of things, but they're not as good offensively this year as they were last year. Now that's a caveat to that, right? Tristan Cassis is a big Boston favorite guy. So maybe he can come in and do amazing Tristan Cassis things. Maybe what's that other guy's name? Maybe I don't even know. He's not even listed on the damn roster anymore. As the guy you like, what's his name? Begins with a C, like the place.
Campbell.
Yeah.
Campbell. They tried Campbell at second base last year. That was their. We groomed him. We built him. He's going to be they gave him the extended contract. He was back in Worcester by May 1st, and we never saw him again. And I know we got Marcelo Meyer, who's always hurt. Okay, we got Cassis coming off an injury. We got Yoshida, who no one wants to pick up his $18 million. There's so many of this. What if? You built this plethora of pitching. You gotta make a trade somewhere. If they don't want to trade Nico, fine. They don't want to trade Brendan Donovan, fine. Go find me, not Shaw. Go find me a second baseman if you don't want to pay Eugenio.
Well, here's your biggest issue. So let's use weighted runs created plus. Okay, weighted runs created plus as a standard number for great offensive talent. 100 is the average number. So if you're above 100, you're pretty good. You're above average. If you're below 100, you're not as good. If you're in the 120 range, that's pretty good too. So when I look at their projected lineup, you got Roman Anthony, Trevor Story, Jaron Duran, Wilson Contreras, Willie Abreu, Navarez, Meyer, Remy Gonzalez, and Rafaela. That's what it's showing here on roster resource. If you look at where they are on weighted runs created plus, you've got 124 from Roman Anthony. That's pretty good. They're expecting him to be a superstar, and he should be. I saw some stuff on his swing path the other day. I was looking at stuff. He's going to be a really good talent. And then you've got 117 for Wilson Contreras. Well, that's pretty good too. That's not a bad thing. That's probably a little higher than what. But so he's better than average, right? And then you got Jaron Duran at 108 and Willie Abreu at 111. That's it. Nobody else is even at average. They're all below average. That's a tough road to hoe for all of those guys. Now, if I switch this, just to give you a comparison, and I'm switching this to Baltimore, okay? I'm switching it to Baltimore. And their lineup is going to be Holiday, Westberg, Henderson, Alonso, Rushman, Taylor Ward, Dylan Beavers, Colton Cowser, and Samuel, whatever that guy's name is. I can't, it's Buello or whatever. So that's their lineup. Weighted runs created plus 108, 119, 135, 136, 116, 117, 111, 107, 109. Not one player below average. Not one in that entire lineup. And then when you sit there and go, let's look at their pitching staff, right? If you put Framber in this lineup and you say, Framber, you're going to be my starter, and then go Trevor Rogers, Kyle Bradish, Shane Baz, and Zach Eflin and Dean Kramer, that's pretty damn good too. This is a good team. And my point being is the dominance of the starting pitchers is going to have to be how they win, and they're going to have to win on defense. And Jeff, I don't think they're that good defensively. So my concern in Boston is that they did all this stuff to get all these great pitchers. They didn't come back and fortify it on defense, and they don't have the offense to match. They're not matching Baltimore's offense. They're just not. And I didn't go through Toronto, and I didn't go through the Yankees line. I just went through just one. And that's the difference. When you can sit there and you can go, holy shit, Baltimore's got every player in their lineup over average hitter. And Boston's got what, 3, 4? It's not enough. If I were to go look at Toronto, for example, where's Toronto? There they are. So Toronto has 122, 110, 149, 108, 117, 102, 117, 96, 94. All but two of them. And that's the difference. And when you start to look at their pitching staff, it's not that bad either. I mean, I know no, you know, you and I talked about Dylan Cease and going, well, I wouldn't have paid him all that money and blah blah. Well, his projection is the 8th best pitcher in Major League Baseball this year. Number 8. So if he's going to be the number 8 best pitcher in baseball, I'll pay him. Come on, you know, be the number 8 best pitcher, and you can sit there and go, Kevin Gausman, Dylan Cease, Shane Bieber, Trey Savage. I'm pretty good with that. That's going to match up pretty good with a lot of teams. And defensively, that's a pretty good defensive team that they got. So then okay, well, what do the Yankees look like? I guarantee the Yankees aren't very good at this either. But the Yankees 110, 173, 114, 123, 111, 112, and then 3 guys not over the number. Well, that's still better than what Boston's got. Boston probably beats Tampa Bay. Let's see. Tampa Bay has done so many goofy things with their lineup these days. 102, 130, 121, 131, and then they got everybody else is below. So they only got 4 guys, just like what Boston does. But Boston's got way more pitching than what Tampa Bay does.
And the irritating part here is the fact they got a Gold Glove center fielder with Rafaela, and their talks of moving him to second base and putting Duran in center. And listen, you've made some great moves here this year, and you got a plethora. You got the Bellows of the world, you got the Harrisons of the world, you got the Sandovals of the world. You know, people that are looking for arms to throw into their back ends, and you need a second baseman. You need a third baseman because you can't plug and play with these kids with that kind of pitching. And we know how pitching is. It's only as good as the next day. And it's hard to keep everyone healthy. Just ask the Dodgers last year. Every day we're like, who's starting, what, where, blah, 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 blah. My point is, after a while, when you lose 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, and or you got a 2-out error in the 9th, and because defensively they suck too. So you can hear my frustrations, and we got time. We got like 10 plus days till pitches and catches. You got WC work. So, anyways, I'm done. I'm going to give a shout out to Russell Saylor again. Thank you so much for all the great questions. A shout out to PB. Myself and Scott will most likely be back Monday, and then we'll put together a package for the rest of the week. We'll be talking. Scotty will be a lot more breakdowns. We'll go over some line moves again. Total is trickling down. That number's still around 4.5. Don't know where it will end up. My gut, I don't know anything. Remember that. I think this is going to close at 5. I think the late push will be Seattle. I think it closes at 5. And for the total, it's about 45.5 right now. So that initial 24-20, looking at the team totals again. So we got a whole full week. We're going to let this weekend, we're going to let these numbers simmer, and we'll be back on Monday. So from myself, Jeff Dawson, ADC Sports Investor, one and only Mr. Scotty Webb at Webby20 MLB. Locals, bundle up. It's still 10 degrees here on the Cape. Wind chill factor.
Hey, dude, do you know that Saturday, this is the craziest shit in the world. Sunday, that I in Florida, I have a 10% chance that I might get snow flurries that day. Do you know that? It's called golf effect snow. We're supposed to have golf effect snow. And I'm like, are you kidding me? These people down here, oh my God. Well, me included, I guess, at this point. If we get snow, oh my God, there's no way. There's no way I'm going anywhere. No way. Because even if it sticks for, a half an hour, these people will be wrecking all over the place, man.
Look at PB. Let's go. Thank you so much as always.
No, we don't want snow down here, PB. What the hell's the matter with you?
Everyone, enjoy the weekend. Bundle up. Be safe. Have some fun. We'll be back on Monday, and stay tuned.